Hey, so I've just finished working and I wanted to tell you about these podcasts before I forget about it. I've written it down, but I could lose this piece of paper. So I was listening to Waterstones podcast. It's one of my new favorites. And he was talking to David Nicholls, who wrote One Day, which I don't know where to look. I'm sorry. Remember, this thing is new. Anywho, he wrote One Day, which is a Netflix series now, which I watched a month and a half ago. So sad, so beautiful. Prepare yourself and have a full box of Kleenex. But he has a new book coming out called You Are Here, and it sounds really interesting because it is unique in that, from what I gather, it's broken down into a couple who are walking and they're forming a relationship. I'm not sure, but it's got to do with walking and them on this walk. So it sounds really good. And then, did you know that Adriana Trigiani has a podcast? The one who wrote that beautiful series, Big Stone Gap. She has a book podcast. New to me. Anywho, I went back I think a year, and she was talking to Sarah Jessica Parker, and that was really brilliant. I loved it. So that was really interesting. And she was talking about growing up and moving from, I think it was Ohio, to New York City, and her mother always said, never leave the house without a book. NPR's Book of the Day. I listened to a couple episodes, and the two that stuck out were Clear, that's a new one, and then they talked about Memory Peace, I think is the name. That sounds really interesting. The author is K-O. So I'm going to run to the library. Oh, also, Sarah Jessica Parker was saying how most of the photos on her phone are of her kids or her pets, but then the rest are books. And I have that same kind of mindset because, if I'm in a bookstore, if I don't write it down, I'm going to snap a picture of it. So I could totally relate, totally. I got a couple books in the used book room I thought I'd show you. So this one I've heard about, this one I've heard about quite a bit. Remarkable Bright Creatures. It's in really good condition and it was $3. So yay on that. Thought that'd be a good summer read. And then this one is a UK print. Colm Toibin. How do you say his name? Toibin. He is an Irish author, and he wrote Brooklyn, which he is coming up with a sequel to that, which I'm looking forward to. But this one I haven't read, Nora Webster. I love British printed books. I'm a sucker for British books. I don't know. Anywho, and then a classic, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. We had to read this in, I think it was 7th grade. The teacher passed out hardback editions of the book. I wish I still had mine because, I don't know, there was just something about it. It probably just sealed the memory for me. But yeah, anywho, this is a really nice edition. I really wanted to reread this sometimes, maybe this summer is the perfect time. If you want to read this with me this summer, let me know, because I would love to do a buddy read. We don't have to keep it to one person. Anyone who wants to join in. It says, the beloved American classic about a young girl's coming of age at the turn of the century, Betty Smith's The Tree Grows in Brooklyn is a poignant and moving tale filled with compassion and cruelty, laughter and heartache, crowded with life and people and incident. The story of young, sensitive, and idealistic Francie Nolan and her bittersweet formative years in the slums of Williamsburg has enchanted and inspired millions of readers for over 60 years. Great quote on the back, the world was hers for the reading. That should be on my gravestone. Okay, now I'm at the gym and I have my Kindle, so I probably will read 2 more stories in my book. I'm reading Dead End Memories by, who's the author again? Banana Yoshimoto. Just talking to myself, asking myself questions and just answering myself. Anyhow, I have three more stories, so I might get 2 done because I'll do 15 minutes on the treadmill.